So when the discussion begins, one has to concede that there's been thought given to it. We'll take a look. We'll see what makes good sense for each of us. We want to make sure we get it right. We want to get it right for the next decades as well. And so I don't really have much to add other than I'm aware that there's a desire to potentially make a shift in terms of how that's handled, and we're happy to take a look at it and see if we can ensure that we get it right. That it certainly matters exactly how it gets handled inside the United States government, but oftentimes it's making sure you get the process right, and so that's what we're really focused on.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome, sir.
Okay, motion reads NBC.
Thank you guys for doing this. Mr. Secretary, with the discussions today, was climate change discussed and its effects on our nation? And do you believe it's an existential threat? And then secondly, one on China. What's your message to the Pacific Island nations in regards to China's growing influence in the region?
I'm happy to take each of those, but I'd love to hear from my friends here too. We did talk about climate change. We talked about the concerns about rising sea levels here. The United States has consistently met the objectives that are sitting in the Paris Agreement. While having left that agreement, we've done well. We know that the data is very clear that developed nations are less likely to do the things that present the risk of climate change, and so one of the things we can all do, not just here, but around the world, is take nations towards the more developed. Those nations have lower carbon emissions. Those are all true. And then we talked a great deal about disaster mitigation, disaster prevention, and the kinds of things the United States might be able to present assistance on that would protect and preserve these beautiful places. When we spoke about China, I spoke about it, and we all collectively spoke about it in the sense of we've had long and deep relationships. These are freedom-loving nations and freedom-loving peoples that have value sets that are deeply consistent with those of the United States. It's why these relationships have lasted the length that they have. And so my presence here today, the Trump administration's commitment to the region, is precisely what it will take to make sure that these nations can continue to have the security that they need, the economic development they need, so that they can continue to do what these nations have done, right? Democratic values, voting for freedom and liberty, and doing all the right things in the world. We know China seeks to engage and to influence this region, but I'm convinced that the people of the Marshall Islands, the people of Palau, and the people where we're sitting here today understand that having partners that are democratic, the United States, but Australia, Japan, the other Pacific democracies are the best partnerships for the people that will continue to make their lives better in the years and decades ahead. And I know you directed me, but I'd love to hear from some of my friends, since this is where we're at.
Thank you, Secretary Pompeo. I wish to join my colleagues from the Marshall Islands and Palau in, again, saying how grateful our countries are. Secretary Pompeo, for the United States, providing security, peace, and stability and freedom of navigation in our bigger region, the Indo-Pacific region. We thank you for that role. While visiting the United States in terms of the issue of China, when we met Assistant Secretary or Acting Secretary Shanahan at the Department of Defense, in terms of our relationship with China, I did assure Secretary, and I'm assuring you today again, Secretary Pompeo, that our relationship with the U.S. is first and foremost. In terms of our relationship with China is purely on economic and technical cooperation. I want to make that clear in this context, and for U.S. Providing the peace and stability in the region. We have our citizens who are serving in the U.S. Armed Forces. They provide a true commitment in terms of fighting for freedom. And as Secretary Pompeo said, they serve at the highest rate in terms of per capita, and we're very proud of that. And thank you, Secretary, for taking time. I understand that the schedule will be to also pay respects to the fallen soldiers here through a relaying ceremony that would be, I'll be joining you in a little bit. But in fact, what we're proud of in terms of the United States relationship with the freely associated states, the fact that U.S. Enshrined in our Compact of Free Association protects our citizens as though we are citizens of the United States, or protect our nation as though we are one of your states in the United States. And we're deeply proud of that. Before going further, Secretary, you did tell me to take credit for your visit in terms of the news that you're bringing. I think the news that is really big news for the Federated States of Micronesia, for the Republic of the Marshall Islands, and for the Republic of Palau is the fact that when we were in Washington, D.C., invited by President Donald Trump, Secretary Pompeo was so kind to host a working lunch at the, was it the Monroe Room?
Yes.
Monroe Room. And I saw you then, Secretary, as a very sincere friend of Micronesia. And the question that he asked us was, how can we help you? And Secretary, if you recall, and Madam President, I did ask that you please share with us if you were going to give the authority or the green light to what is called the negotiating authority in terms of revisiting and renewing the expiring provisions of the compact. And today, I'm really pleased to announce and joining Secretary Pompeo, joining President Hilda and Vice President Oilouch in sharing with our citizens and our nations that President Pompeo is here to deliver and reciprocate the favor when we ask him about the negotiating authority. The big news is that President Pompeo has delivered to us that he's given the green light on the negotiating authority to begin negotiating the expiring provisions of our compact. And we're deeply appreciative of that. And our citizens, I know throughout the nation, are anxiously waiting for the big news. And here it is with the news. It's streaming, I believe. And this is an incredible honor, Mr. Secretary, that you're able to put down your very busy schedule to visit us in this part of the world. And that reaffirms our enduring relationship between our freely associated states and the United States of America. And I thank you for that news, Secretary. It's an honor that we would receive Secretary of State, which is historic, to welcome you here with such a big news. Thank you so much, Secretary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
On a solemn occasion like this, it really touches our heart here in the Federated States of Micronesia. On behalf of the Federated States of Micronesia and the people, we welcome you, Secretary Pompeo and Mrs. Pompeo. Thank you for visiting us. Since I was sworn in just the month of May 11th, I had the opportunity and the privilege of joining solemn occasion like this, the first one being in Washington, D.C. at the Arlington Cemetery. And I did share how emotional that felt because we were respecting the fallen soldiers of not only the United States, but we also know that for the young men and women of the Federated States of Micronesia. After that, I was also joined with Ambassador Riley touring the laying of the wreath during the 4th of July event. And then more recently, Secretary Wilkie during his visit to join the joint inaugural ceremonies here, which we were very proud of and grateful for. We also joined him, or I joined Secretary Wilkie in respecting and honoring our fallen soldiers of both the Federated States of Micronesia and the United States of America. And today, Secretary Pompeo, I'm very pleased and honored that you have visited our island, an historic visit to talk about important bilateral issues between the United States and the Federated States of Micronesia and our freely associated states leaders. And today, I'm so honored to join you, Secretary, in honoring the 10 fallen soldiers of the Federated States of Micronesia. Today, I thank you, Secretary. I thank all the veterans and their four-star families for giving the ultimate sacrifice to fight for freedom and peace in the Federated States, in the United States, and throughout the world. So today, on behalf of our country, we thank you that we could join you on this historic visit and during this solemn occasion. I thank you so much, Secretary, for this opportunity.
Thank you, President Panuelo and First Lady. Thank you for hosting us. We're thankful for the opportunity to commemorate the sons and daughters of Micronesia who served in the United States Armed Forces and who paid the ultimate price. Many of your citizens join our young men and women and put their lives at risk on behalf of freedom and democracy around the world. And Americans appreciate their willingness to serve on our nation's behalf. Today we all have the privilege of honoring 10 heroes, 10 Federated States of America, Federated States of Micronesia citizens representing all 4 states in Micronesia who have died in combat while serving in the United States Armed Forces. I was once a soldier myself, but I'm here today as America's Secretary of State representing the American people to say how much we appreciate and respect their service in our armed forces. We are proud to honor these 10 very brave and dedicated young soldiers. The American people are intensely and forever grateful for their sacrifices to defend and advance freedom and unalienable rights all across the world. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Panuelo and Secretary Pompeo will now lay wreaths in remembrance of our soldiers and guardsmen to honor their ultimate sacrifice. They will be assisted by United States Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel Aaron Richter and Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Schottenberg. Ladies and gentlemen,